My name is Watermaya, your one and only annoying village boy from Ghana, and I just want to tell you all, keep watching ZTN Prime on DSTV 294.
It's a very good evening to you. Newsplus begins right now with me, Wadzanai Sansole. Lots to cover between now and 9 p.m. These are your headlines. President Emmerson Mnangagwa today presided over the 19th graduation ceremony of Great Zimbabwe University in Masvingo Province, where he capped over 3,400 graduates. His deputy, Vice President Kembo Mohadi, was part of those who were capped. More details on that story coming up on the bulletin. Another story to look forward to here on Newsplus is on Harare's water supply situation, with authorities having started the installation of prepaid water meters, a move they hope will ease water woes. In our look at crime, we give you details on an incident which happened in Epworth this morning, where a wife attacked her husband with a knife following a dispute over some loan money. And in sport, Warriors are scheduled to play Algeria and Qatar in international friendly matches during the upcoming November FIFA window, as part of preparations for the Africa Cup of Nations set for December. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. These are your stories in greater detail now. President Emmerson Mnangagwa today capped 3,477 graduates at the Great Zimbabwe University's 19th graduation ceremony. 2,498 were undergraduates, while 979 were postgraduates. Those capped included Vice President Kembo Mohadi, who was awarded with an honorary Doctor of Social Sciences in Leadership in recognition of his role in Zimbabwe's liberation struggle and his contributions to Zimbabwe. Let's get more in the following report.
Of the graduating cohort, 61% were female, reflecting a strong representation of women in academia. 315 students graduated in STEM disciplines. 187 of all the graduates were international students from different African countries. 11 graduates were students living with disabilities. The university also awarded 7 Doctor of Philosophy degrees. Vice President Kembo Mohadi was awarded an honorary Doctor of Social Sciences in Leadership. This in recognition of his role in Zimbabwe's liberation struggle and development of the country.
This honor is not mine alone. It belongs to all those who have walked this journey with me. My family, colleagues, mentors, and many communities whose resilience, wisdom, and courage have inspired my work. I accept this doctorate as a tribute to the countless individuals and groups who continue to shape.
In his address, Great Zimbabwe University Vice-Chancellor Professor Rungano Jonas Zobwo said the university continued to register achievements in the 5 mandate areas of Education 5.0. The areas are teaching, research, community engagement, innovation, and industrialization.
These graduates have been adequately prepared to lead with decision and possess the necessary skills and competencies to drive Zimbabwe's transformation. Of the graduating cohort, 61% are female. This is indeed a landmark. I think we should now start thinking of taking care of male child.
In response to rural industrialization, GZU established a grain processing plant at the Innovation Center for Drylands Agriculture. in the energy sector. Professor Zobo said GZU had partnered with the Zimbabwe Electricity Transmission and Distribution Company in the all-round transformer and substation protection system, which will contribute to the long-term sustainability of electricity supplies. Graduating as the best overall student, Lawrence Ndofirepi hailed President Mnangagwa for the prizes, which he said will go a long way in motivating students across the country's learning institutions.
Your leadership and vision for a prosperous Zimbabwe is one that instills hope in all of us to build our nation brick by brick, because we are the architects of our destination as a people. Indeed, Your Excellency, Nika Inovakwa Nerenyai, Igotongwa Nerenyai, Igonagatigwa Nerenyai.
The Vice-Chancellor congratulated President Mnangagwa on the successful hosting of the just-ended ZANU-PF 22nd National People's Conference. His successful tenure as SADC chairman, appointment as the incoming COMESA chairman, the celebration of Amono Mutapa Day, and Zimbabwe's bid for non-permanent representation in the United Nations Security Council.
And now in other news, a Zimbabwe-based Pan-African think tank wants European courts to shut down museums which contain stolen African history, heritage and artifacts. This is all contained in a lawsuit being prepared by the Institute of African Knowledge. Now Tafaras Wachwe gives us more in the following report.
For Instag, 3 interconnected legal actions focusing on reparations for slavery and colonialism, distortion of Africa's true landmass in world cartography, and racial bias in Polish education are critical. The intention is evident: to rectify both historical and current injustices inflicted upon Africans. Notably, among the current injustices are the unlawful sanctions placed on Zimbabwe. Former colonizers must not only pay reparations, but rectify injustices which include the repatriation of African history.
As saying, there are reparations that Africa must be paid. And this is not just a Zimbabwean call, it is an African Union call. The theme for this year, agreed by the 55 countries of the AU, is it's the year of reparations against the Atlantic slave trade, the Arab slave trade, and all forms of injustices that Africa suffered.
The problem of racist educational material in certain European nations is an issue that the Zimbabwean think tank aims to address, as they believe it will have far-reaching global implications in the future.
You see that in our papers to the European Court of Human Rights. We have requested the European Court of Human Rights to declare as racist a part of a basic education textbook in Poland that teaches everyone in kindergarten in Poland that a black person is black because they don't bath. There is that text which is being taught in Polish schools today.
In 2021, Germany and Namibia entered into an agreement in which Germany recognized the genocide of the Herero and Nama people that occurred between 1904 and 1908, committing to provide 1.1 billion euros in development aid over a span of 30 years for the purpose of reconstruction and development. This agreement has faced significant criticism from affected groups who demand that the funds be explicitly designated as reparations. They feel that they were not adequately included in the negotiation process and consider the agreement to be inadequate and lacking in legal enforceability as a form of justice. SADC and other nations across the African continent are expected to utilize the Namibia-Germany agreement as a basis to advocate for more extensive reparative frameworks.
There is that vehicle of conversation that can happen between governments. It can sometimes not be immediate, but also one key thing to note about the Namibian example in the German case is that a specific government was in power in Germany which was understanding about these issues. So sometimes certain regimes in some of the countries, in the perpetrator countries, might not be amenable to some of these ideas.
As Africa intensifies its push for reparative justice, The actions led by Instac mark a bold step towards reclaiming the continent's dignity, truth, and rightful place in global history. With legal challenges underway and regional momentum building, the call for accountability is no longer a whisper, it's a united continental demand. Tafaras Buchiwe for ZTN Prime.
Now, to get a legal perspective on this matter, we are joined by a human rights lawyer, and she joins us live. That's Paida Saurombe. Good evening, Paida. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsplus. Could you tell us what legal grounds African nations have for seeking reparations from former colonial powers, and how these claims might actually hold up under international law?
So, when you look at reparations in general, we are talking about the evils that have been done in the past to Africa as a continent and to the particular countries that are in Africa. And within the African Union itself, when you look at the different charters that we have as the African Union, you will find that we talk of healing the divisions of the past. We talk about the wounds that have been inflicted in the past. So we do have got adequate instruments and mechanisms. The African Human Rights Commission has also quite a number of instruments and articles that sufficiently provide for a legal framework. One of them being the transitional justice mechanism that is there, that provides for mechanisms that have to deal with what has taken place in the past and with how those divisions should actually, those divisions and wounds should be healed with what has happened to Africa.
Now, Paida, there's a lot of debate surrounding this issue, and some may argue that historical injustices like slavery and colonialism are actually too far in the past to actually warrant compensation today. I'd like to hear from you what you think when it comes to human rights frameworks regarding this argument.
So when you look at the human rights framework itself, when you look at reparations in terms of time, there is definitely a time element to it, but the time element in it does not purge the atrocities that has actually been done. If you would recall, when we've been talking about transitional justice mechanisms, where we are saying we need to move from the past into the future by not simply erasing what has taken place in the past, but by giving correction to what has taken place in the past, the atrocities that have taken place, the brutality, the slavery, the enslavement, the tortures that have taken place, they still needs to be compensated for, because we still have some of the structures that perpetrated those atrocities, and because we still have them in place, they can still be done.
Now, lastly, Paida, just before I let you go, what kind of financial, institutional, or policy-based reparations are most realistic and actually enforceable?
So with reparations, there are several methods that one can actually use to put these in effect. With reparation, you are looking at restitution, whereby you are saying you want to return a victim to the position they were had they not been affected by the act that then affected them, be it an act of violence, be it an act of torture, an act of displacement, or an act of slavery. So you want to place them in a position where they were before. I would give an example, the example of perhaps the land reform program that took place in Zimbabwe, whereby we wanted to, as a country, to say we want to go back or put our people in the place they were before these things took place. So reparations then come in that kind of form, where you are saying we are returning you, or restitution.
Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us here on Newsplus. Have a good evening. Now, moving on, Zimbabwe has unlocked over $1 billion in housing finance under the National Development Strategy 1, surpassing the projected $233.75 million. This was revealed by National Housing and Social Amenities Minister Jemu Soda, who added that the funding milestone demonstrates the country's growing capacity to attract investment locally and also regionally into the housing and infrastructure sectors. Now, from 2021, the ministry had a target of 220,000 housing units, but surpassed that, prompting Cabinet to extend the target to 1 million. And over 800,000 housing units have already been delivered, spurred by Zimbabwe's capacity to funds.
From 2021, when we commenced the journey towards vision, towards NDS1, which is running up to the end of this year. Initially, we had a target of 220,000 housing units, which we achieved by mid-term review. And the Cabinet, in its wisdom, had to review the target to 1 million housing units. And I would say the last time that we checked on the collection of our figures, we realized that we had done over 80% of the revised target, which translates to above 800,000.
Harare begins installation of prepaid water meters. That story right ahead.
The Republic of Zimbabwe, in partnership with the International Organization for Migration IOM and United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF, is hosting the 8th session of the Migration Dialogue for Southern Africa, MIDSA 2025, from the 24th to the 27th of October 2025 in Victoria Falls. MIDSA 2025 is running under the theme Promoting Regional Integration through Sustaining Safe, Regular and Orderly Migration in the Southern African Region. The dialogue comes at a pivotal moment in history where migration trends, regional integration efforts, climate change impacts and demographic dynamics intersect to shape the future of the region. As the region prepares for the Migration Dialogue for Southern Africa MIDSA 2025 in Zimbabwe, it is crucial to reflect on these evolving dynamics and their implications for migration governance and development. MIDSA 2025 is instrumental in reinforcing a common vision among member states, grounded in solidarity, shared responsibility and regional integration. MIDSA 2025 is an opportunity for Southern Africa to reaffirm its leadership in migration governance by advancing policies that are climate resilient, youth inclusive, development-oriented and regionally coherent. MIDSA 2025 is a platform to ensure inclusive and informed participation from all SADC member states in continental and global migration governance frameworks, including those linked to the Global Compact for Migration GCM and Agenda 2063. SADC is committed to ensuring that migration is done in a safe, regular and orderly manner. There are definitely more gains for the region that can be harnessed from well-managed migration.
Thank you for staying tuned to Newsplus. We're coming to you live from Harare. And now we move on with our other local stories. The city of Harare, in partnership with Helcro Water Private Limited and Layson Technologies, has begun the installation of prepaid water meters here in Harare as part of ensuring consistent water supply. Let's get more from our correspondent, Lato Nyangu.
The billing system negatively affected both paying and non-paying residents. The first phase of the rollout began at Bedked Walk Flats in Harare, with 22 households expected to benefit. 28 more prepaid meters are also being installed at Cladder Gardens. Speaking at the installation site, Helcro Water Private Limited Chief Executive Brandon Jerry said the prepaid system will promote responsible water use.
So City of Harare has been receiving a lot of complaints where people are not receiving enough water and they are being charged estimates that are way over the top. But right now people will be able to manage their usage of water. We've run this project, for example, at Karoi, we actually have places where they were not receiving water, but after installing these are prepared water meters, people are now managing their water well. Because they are managing their water well, water is just not running out of the tapes. Now you actually have other people that were not receiving water as well.
The prepaid water meter system is expected to also ensure residents only pay for what they consume. Layson Technologies Vice President Clark Dye said his organization has been training Harare City employees to install the prepaid water meters. He said the initiative will be fair to residents as they will be using customized meters.
We are ready to deliver a practical project to the city of Harare, which we hope could be a benchmarking project in all Zimbabwe. And we are here not only to deliver the solution, but we are also here to transfer the know-how, like you just mentioned. Last week we had a very comprehensive training session for all these staff of the city of Harare who will be involved in the operation of the smart metering system. And this system is also designed and customized for our targeted customers, city of Harare.
Zimbabwe National Organization of Association and the Resident Trust National Chairman Shauva Chikomba said the development is a milestone. He said it will go a long way in dealing with water and urged the residents to welcome the initiative.
As of now, we are happy that this pilot project that they are doing here for the 22 units, we think that's the way to go ahead. They are giving about 1,000 liters free.
We apologize for that technical glitch, but still on the precious liquid, Bulawayo's deepening water crisis is forcing the city to rethink its long-term water security. And with nearly half of the treated water being lost through aging pipes, city authorities are now exploring the idea of using recycled water. The city used to reclaim wastewater for industrial and secondary purposes. However, residents have been reluctant to embrace the idea of water recycling again.
Speaking at the Matabeleland Water Indaba held under the theme Rethinking Sustainable Water Strategies for Matabeleland, Mayor David Coltert, in a speech read on his behalf by Ward 25 Councillor Alec Ndlovu, said the city needs to embrace new technologies and ideas to secure its water future. He said feasibility studies are underway to assess the potential use of recycled water for industrial purposes, highlighting that cities like Windhoek in Namibia have done it successfully for years, and said perhaps it's time for Bulawayo to do the same.
While we continue to hope for improved inflows, the city also requires significant investment to overhaul its aging infrastructure and improve bulk water delivery. Much of our infrastructure has outlived its lifespan, resulting in frequent pipe bursts that cause loss of the very water we are striving to preserve.
The mayor revealed that the city requires at least $14.5 million United States dollars to overhaul its aging water infrastructure, the main culprit behind a 46% non-revenue water loss. The mayor said the city is banking on several interventions, including the construction of glass block Bopoma Dam and the long-awaited Lake Gwaishangani to boost water supplies.
$14.5 million to tackle infrastructure-related problems. This includes renewing water mains across the city, rehabilitating water pumps, replacing over 1,000 non-functional meters, and repairing existing infrastructure, all aimed at reducing non-revenue water, which currently stands at 46%.
Local think tanks and civic groups say the Water Indaba gives an opportunity to rethink funding models and explore partnerships that can make these projects a reality, including the use of modern technology to harnessing water for more sustainable livelihoods.
We need to use technology. We need to think about how technology can be used in harnessing water, in desalinization, in tapping from the groundwater, in tapping the water that is coming from everywhere. And how can we deal with this?
Residents and civic groups say the ongoing water shedding, now lasting up to 130 hours, calls for urgent, innovative action. Academics called for the translation of research into actionable policy, calling for closing of gaps between academia and industrial practice.
The industrial symbiosis, we are looking at industries and saying we've got a beverage company that is generating a whole lot of wastewater. Can't they treat their wastewater to a standard whereby, say, it can be utilized by our construction industry? Does the construction industry really need to take the does the construction industry really need to be taking water from our municipality?
Organizers of the Indaba, the Bulawayo Progressive Residents Association, and the Public Policy and Research Institute of Zimbabwe say the platform is about practical solutions, not just talk. With the last major dam inflows recorded almost a decade ago, the city is now praying for a good rainy season and for new ideas to flow just as abundantly. As Bulawayo residents continue to enjoy a 130-hour water shedding program, stakeholders gathered in the city for the Matabeleland Water Indaba, this year running under the theme, Rethinking Sustainable Water Strategies for Matabeleland. As the rain season has kicked off with heavy rains today, the residents of the city are hopeful for better fortunes in the 2025-2026 rainy season. For ZTN Prime, I'm Andile Chuma in Bulawayo.
Now, moving from that story on recycling water ideas in Bulawayo, we now take you to Epworth, where a man is battling for his life after he was stabbed by his wife during an altercation over debts owed to loan sharks. Abraham Chirivayo, aged 35, was stabbed with a knife by his 31-year-old wife, Tafadzwa Mandaza. Now, the victim sustained a deep cut on his stomach, which witnesses said left his intestines protruding. Now, the incident happened early this morning in the Garikai area of Epworth, and police confirmed the incident on X, saying the accused is now in police custody. Let's hear from the witnesses.
Iye anga ari pakona mukadzi wacho vaititira vamwe akaisira vamwe kuda kupusana era anozoona kuti famba sei mandasvikawo madzimamwe bata matumba awo maoko mandasvikawo mandatora zambia mba mawo mandasunga mandatora tawo mandasunga bandakochii kanzi zvanesana nyaya yemagumbezi makafota kada kutengesa magumbezi zvodidi saka hatizozive kuti vamwe vangagara vachinesanawo kumashure nenyaya dzavo vamwe vari patona mameseji kana chii hatizozive
atodzokorora futi kupinda kudzokorora chaiko chaiko kusvika murwa hwese hwazara pasi azvona saka hembe ndiyo yanga akapfeka iyi yakururwa iyi tatozosunga nemazambia mazambia iyi hembe kusunga nemazambia pazosungwa nemazambia urwa hwese kudzosera kudai kwakutora moto kudzisa kuti urwa husadiri hukwanise kudzokera mupi mukati umu saka aenda akatosungwa achingobowa achirwadziwa achichema
anga ari munhu ari friendly baba ivavo kuti vamukuru maiguru anozinzoita ndozvavo asi vanga vari very friendly vanga vachizvinyenyepesa saka tongoti de vanga vangopora ndokushawa kwedu
chinhu chaitika chinosuwisa zvakaipisisa handiti ameno hatizivi kuti vanorarama here baba tichangoona patobetserawo patosvika handiti sedistrict redu seward yedu handiti.
Now, in other news, legislators are concerned about the delay in the approval of Zimbabwe's stadia to meet international standards, which has lasted for over 4 years now. Now, the ban was imposed due to the poor state of stadium infrastructure, forcing Zimbabwe to play matches outside the country. This emerged during a pre-budget consultation meeting with officials from the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Recreation. Our reporter Sharon Munjenjima has more details.
For the past 5 years, the Zimbabwean national football teams, the Warriors and the Mighty Warriors, have had to travel to South Africa, Botswana, Rwanda and other countries in the region to play their home games. Even local teams participating in intercontinental competitions were also being forced to find alternative venues elsewhere in the region. This was after local stadiums were condemned for failing to meet required minimum FIFA standards. After failing an inspection by international football governing bodies again last year, lawmakers are worried whether the National Sports Stadium will ever meet required standards. Reports that the structure, together with Rufaro Stadium, a council-owned facility, may be too outdated and could require total demolition, have spurred questions. This Thursday, parliamentarians sought clarity from officials of the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Recreation.
There are side rumors that we are hearing that at least,
this stadium will not pass the test because it has been condemned as being old, it needs to be run down completely. Would you actually clear this to us as MPs that at least we definitely need to push, because definitely as a country I think that's not good for us to see the National Sports Stadium not being completed. Maybe if you can clear that these are just PR talks, but at least we are confident that in the next inspection when funds have been availed and everything, the NS Stadium will pass the test.
The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sports, Nicholas Moyo, admitted that meeting demands set by CAF and FIFA is not easy, especially on an old structure built in 1987 like the National Sports Stadium. He said negotiations have been held with the football governing bodies to explore ways to work around the stadium's current condition.
Deliberate decisions were then taken and engagements with CAF to then negotiate certain conditions that still allow the games to be played. For example, the positioning of media tribunal. It's not possible to change it from where it was when the
Permanent Secretary said is confident the National Sports Stadium will eventually be approved to host matches. He could not, however, give exact timelines. Lawmakers insisted that without clear timelines, the discussion lacks purpose.
My timelines. It then complicates nyaya yedu yekuti tinenge tichipusha zvinhu muhouse. And I'm happy kuti vari kutaura kuti treasury has been good. Haina kungoita good from nowhere. Takamira muhouse umu zvamunoziva mese nenyaya yekuti mari ngaibude, stadium ngaishande. Saka isusu kana tisina matimelines kuti dai mari ikazouya zvayo taida kuti magrounds aya agozoshanda, toda kunge tine matimelines ekuti kana taakusimudza nyaya.
Moyo was however quick to respond, saying with the erratic disbursement of government funds, it is difficult to tell when the country's biggest multi-purpose facility would be ready. Indications are that by 30 November, all toilets will be remodeled. So far, 4 gates, known as the turnstiles, have been refurbished. The ministry is expected to send a delegation to Uganda next week to study a FIFA-approved stadium that was successfully upgraded. The plan is to apply what they learn to the National Sports Stadium. By February, the local Premier Soccer League is expected to be played at the stadium. Maybe, just maybe, this time around, this latest promise will become a reality after local football enthusiasts were sold dummies on several occasions.
Currently, we want to ensure that when the league opens, it opens in February, National Sports Stadium will be ready to host PSL. Yes.
The Sports Ministry is bidding for 2.7 billion Zimbabwe gold from the national budget to be presented next month by Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube. Part of the funds will go towards refurbishing the National Sports Stadium. The completion of work will depend on how much the ministry receives and how quickly it is disbursed. For now, the wait continues. Shira Munjenjema for ZTN News at Parliament.
We'll take a look at what's happening with Zimbabwe's wildlife conservation shortly after the break.
Vanoda valisizi itai aye, varimi vese itai aye, vanoda go itai aye, simuza go rako, kurumiza, nogona kungoti oyo, valisizi padamo yo, manyai vana maina na baba, kurumiza, mbeu kwayo riku valisizi. Airowe nezvivukuto kana tsikitsi kana zvirwere ende nokupa harvest. Apa ndiri kurevesa very honest. Nevalisizi itai aye, varimi vese itai aye.
Mwaka uno tenga mbeu yako ku Valley Seeds usimudze goho rako.
Valley Seeds vauchiki vembeu yechibage yepana nePioneer, Goros ma-traditional grains nema-vegetable seeds ose anopa goho repamsorosoro. Valley Seeds, where farming meets the farmer.
This is Newsplus. We absolutely appreciate your company right here on ZTN Prime. Now, Zimbabwe's conservation story took center stage in Harare today, where the first ever Zimparks International Wildlife Conservation Symposium brought together researchers, policymakers, and environmentalists to explore the link between wildlife protection and sustainable development. My colleague Faith Nyaude, who attended this, filed the following report.
The symposium, an idea born around 2020, finally came to life this year, drawing local and international voices in conservation science. From poaching trends to climate-linked habitat loss, the discussions explored how to balance the country's conservation goals with community livelihoods.
So it's a good opportunity, and we hope the outputs that will come from here will also help us with a strategy of engagement, a strategy of also improving our Zimparks research strategy and ensure that conservation and development do thrive.
Officials from the Ministry of Environment and the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority say the platform was long overdue, a space to exchange ideas, align policies, and confront misconceptions about the sector.
So really I'm very, very delighted. I see this platform really as a game changer.
The permanent secretary in the ministry described as disturbing the belief that communities only benefit when given elephant meat or donation after hunts, saying such narratives undermine real community participation in conservation.
From, say, some of the critical stakeholders, they will tell you that communities are benefiting because when we kill an elephant, we give them meat. Is that the community benefit from coexisting with an elephant? The question then becomes, who is benefiting from the wildlife economy? When you go to these huge conventions, they'll be talking about billions, if not trillions of dollars, which this economy can generate. But the question is, who benefits from it?
The meeting also spotlighted traditional knowledge systems that have long informed wildlife management and the need for research to respect and protect that indigenous wisdom.
Some hold that indigenous knowledge systems and the knowledge which is very valuable to us, and we know UNESCO has recognized the value of the local knowledge, scientific knowledge. So in as much as we make decisions, we need to be embracing all forms of knowledge.
Zimpark says future editions will expand participation to include the diplomatic corps and more funding partners as Zimbabwe positions itself as a regional hub for conservation research and collaboration. Outcomes from the Harare Symposium will guide new research priorities, shape policy, and strengthen community partnerships at the heart of Zimbabwe's conservation story. Reporting for ZTN Prime, I'm Faith Nyaude in Harare.
Government has urged teachers to embrace technology and integrate artificial intelligence in their teaching methods. This was said by the Deputy Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Smelisizwe Sibanda, at the 48th graduation ceremony at Zintech Morgan Teachers College here in Harare. Now, our reporter Talen Kore gives us more in the following report.
The call for educators to keep pace with emerging technologies continues to grow, and the government says the teaching profession must evolve with the times. Officiating at Morgan Zintech Teachers College 48th graduation ceremony, Higher and Tertiary Education Deputy Minister Smelisizwe Sibanda, represented by the Chief Director for Finance and Administration, Memory Mkondomi, said digital literacy was no longer optional.
In an era defined by rapid technological change, digital literacy is no longer optional. It is foundational to effective teaching, lifelong learning, and national competitiveness.
Running under the theme, Empowering Futures, Heritage-Based Education for Sustainable Development and Economic Transformation, the event saw 774 graduates receiving their certificates. Mukondomi said the education system had been reconfigured to align with Heritage-Based Education 5.0, a model designed to promote innovation, research, and industrialization in line.
And now on to our global stories, and we start in Uganda. At least 46 people were killed on Wednesday in one of Uganda's deadliest road crashes in recent years. Now, the collision happened overnight on the Kampala-Gulu highway in the north of the country, involving 4 cars, 2 passenger buses, a lorry and a smaller car, when 2 buses traveling in opposite directions reportedly tried to overtake at the same time. Now, they collided head-on, setting off a chain reaction involving other vehicles. Rescue teams said dozens were injured and police investigations are still underway. Now, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, says it hopes to expand on the substantial progress made in the fight against hunger over the past 8 decades by tapping into scientific and innovative solutions. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the founding of FAO, which was established in October, on October the 16th, 1945. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, says 2.4 million children remain out of school in Syria, while more than 1 million others are at risk of dropping out. The organization reports that 1/3 of schools across the country are no longer fit for use due to destruction, due to damage, or their conversion into shelters. Now, the YEM Educational Project, a humanitarian initiative supported by UNICEF, was launched in the village of Salma in Syria to provide temporary educational tents for their students.
نحن مشروعنا اسمه مشروع يم التعليمي. هو كان استجابة طارئة للريف بحكم انه المدارس عنا بالريف كتير متدمرة ومتضررة وما صار في مدارس لهلا. فنحن استجابتنا كانت كرمال الطلاب العائدين والموجودين ما يضلوا قاعدين بالبيت فترة طويلة. بالإضافة نحن ركزنا على الطلاب اللي ما بيعرفوا يكتبوا عربي أو يقروا عربي، فنحن مبلشين معهم من الصفر.
Elderly care in China is undergoing a fundamental transformation as AI-powered pilot projects show promise in enhancing senior citizens' quality of life, allowing them to live more independently. A new smart elderly care center is offering a glimpse into the future of aging with dignity. Now, the center integrates cutting-edge digital technology to monitor and support the health of its elderly residents.
When the senior citizens are exercising, we can use the system to check where they are at any moment. What's shown here is her sleeping condition last night. From the overall analysis, she had more than 9 hours of light sleep and just over 2 hours of deep sleep. This data tells us that her sleep quality may be just average.
And in other global news, 54 unidentified bodies delivered to Gaza by Israel under the ceasefire agreement were laid to rest on Wednesday. However, the bodies could not be identified because they were in very poor condition, and medical authorities took DNA samples from the bodies, but testing has been delayed due to the closure of border crossings, which has prevented the arrival of necessary equipment. And a total of 195 bodies have been received from Israel since the ceasefire came into effect.
ونطالب المجتمع الدولي بفتح المعابر وإدخال الأجهزة الخاصة بفحص الدي ان ايه حتى نتمكن من مطابقة العينات التي أخذناها من المجهولي الهوية مع عوائلهم من أجل التعرف عليها. وبالتالي هناك مسؤولية تاريخية وأخلاقية وإنسانية على المجتمع الدولي، ويتوجب عليه وجوبا أن يفتح المعابر ويدخل هذه الأجهزة بأسرع وقت ممكن.
Coming up on Newsplus is business.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go!
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect and stay connected to DSTV Compact and get the best football on us.
Didn't graduate? I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
It's time now to take a look at what's happening on the economic landscape. The sudden and immediate resignation of CEO Ben Turney from Kavango Resources has thrown the London-listed explorer into turmoil just 2 weeks after he successfully steered the company's listing on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. Now, the announcement revealed Turney's departure not only as chief executive, but also from the company's board of directors. The market's reaction was severe, with Kavango's share price plummeting 15% in London, trading following the announcement, a clear signal of shaken investor confidence. Now, the lack of a detailed explanation or a transition period has fueled speculation of a breakdown in relations between Turney and the board. Now, Executive Chair Peter B has stepped in as interim CEO, while non-executive director Donald McAllister has taken on the additional role of interim chief financial officer. The indaba is unfolding amid rising concern over unethical land transitions, with more citizens falling victim to fraudulent players posing as legitimate agents. Now, in other business news, Prospect Lithium Zimbabwe PLZ has started constructing a 70-megawatt power station in a strategic move aimed at augmenting local power supply. This initiative aims to enhance the energy supply to PLZ, a subsidiary of China's Zhejiang Huawei Cobalt Limited, one of the world's largest producers of lithium-ion battery materials and a new cobalt materials producer. The investment in the solar power facility will reduce reliance on the national grid, which faces increasing demand from the rapidly expanding economy, domestic users and the mining sector. Now, coming up is entertainment.
Welcome wherever you are. And Marmouche, room to shoot! He well and truly did! It's an opportunity, what a shot to Sino! Scott's got to be careful. Bukayo Saka! But it's Salah, and that one delivers!
Never miss a play, home or away. Stream all Premier League games live on Showmax.
Welcome back, gospel music lovers, to another season of My Ultimate Gospel 10. Your ultimate destination for soul-stirring melodies and inspirational stories.
Might prepare me for a good day.
And God is faithful because He's holy.
Like, wow, this is beautiful. Each week, they'll be revealing their top 10 gospel songs. Meet Miss Becky K, the dynamic and passionate new presenter for Season 3.
If you are ready, let's get into My Ultimate Gospel 10.
Premiering soon, only on ZTN Prime. Stay tuned and let the music uplift your soul.
Let's take a look at what's happening in entertainment. Earlier today, the Nubian Nodes press conference announced an upcoming all-female concert scheduled for November 8, 2025 at the Harare International Conference Center. This first-of-its-kind concert is celebrating Zimbabwean female artists, and the lineup features Tammy Moyo, Feli Nandi, Nisha Tees, Gemma Griffiths, and Shashel.
And yeah, super excited for this first of its kind. Hopefully, and definitely not the last of its kind. Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Shashel taking over. So it's about to be crazy. I'm so excited to be here. Nubian Notes, we're taking over.
Hi everybody, I'm Tammy Moyo. Like everybody else said, very excited to be here. The first of its kind. It's going to be hot. Make sure you are there, make sure your friends are there, make sure your enemies are there to watch history in the making. It's going to be a good one. Yeah.
Hey guys, Feli Nandi here. I'm super excited to be sharing the stage with amazing queens. We cannot wait. First of its own kind. We cannot wait.
Right. And I know
Now, the historic walls of the Bulawayo Club are set to come alive this weekend, transforming into a vibrant hub of art, hospitality, and dialogue as they host Sanctuary Art in Hospitality, an innovative art auction exhibition curated and directed by acclaimed visual artist Danisile Ncube. Now, Ncube, a versatile visual artist, sculptor, and photographer, and a key figure behind the collective Art Bulawayo, says the exhibition is a deliberate act of creating refuge through creativity, and each artist contributes a visual dialogue that complements the intimacy and the history of the Bulawayo Club. Another entertainment news, analysts warn that the curtain is falling on Hollywood's century-long cultural dominance as global film power shifts eastward towards Asian countries like China, driven by the country's thriving domestic market and international concerns over recent U.S. tariffs on foreign film productions. Once deemed as the heart of global entertainment, Hollywood is known for its big-budget, star-studded productions, which have thrilled film fans for decades. American studios used to view China as a source of blockbuster profits, a pursuit that at its peak yielded hundreds of millions of dollars per release. However, this is now rapidly fading as Chinese-made films now prove increasingly popular among moviegoers and begin to dominate the domestic market.
And we're at a moment in time where I think the American century is over. The period of 100 years of Hollywood dominance over global popular culture is definitively closed. And what we're going to see in the next decades is a battle between Asian and particularly East Asian superpowers for the global marketplace and for the imagination of people around the world.
Warriors to play Algeria and Qatar in friendlies. That story and more in sport.
They call me Racer X, or in this case, Racer J. All right.
Put your seatbelt on.
Welcome back. We now take a look at sport, and we start with football. Warriors will play Algeria and Qatar in international friendly matches during the upcoming November FIFA window as part of preparations for the Africa Cup of Nations that are set for December. Both Algeria and Qatar have qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the USA, Mexico, and Canada, and will provide a tough test for the Warriors. Ziffa also confirmed a new Warriors coach will be announced next week to replace German Michael Nies, who was fired last night over poor results. Ni's former assistant, Kaitano Tembo, is among the favorites to land the Warriors job. Now, ZIFA President Nqobile Magwizi says the decision to play against the two teams is part of their AFCON preparations and will allow the new technical team to work with the squad.
The FIFA break in November. So we have a match with Algeria. We also have a match with Qatar. Of course, Algeria's choice was very deliberate, knowing that in AFCON we will be playing Egypt, and the style of play between Egypt and Algeria is almost the same. So we have those matches that are coming up. We also have put in place. We've also put in place a camp that will happen, a 10-day camp that will happen when we are going for the AFCON. But pre that camp, we're also going to put in place even a local camp where the new technical team will have an opportunity to spend a lot more time with the players, so that as we go to AFCON, we are well prepared and we are ready to give the best performance.
Now, the two friendlies against Algeria and Qatar will be played between 10 and 18 November 2025. In other sports news, the Zimbabwe Football Association and the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education have taken a major step towards transforming grassroots football development through the signing of a landmark Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, aimed at mainstreaming football education in schools across the country. Signed in Harare on Thursday, the MOU establishes a national framework for cooperation between the two institutions to integrate structured football programs within the education system, ensuring that pupils across all provinces and districts have access to organized football activities as part of their holistic learning experience. Now, under the MOU, both parties will collaborate to establish an annual schools football calendar, strengthen teacher and referee training, implement safeguarding and child protection policies, and register all participating players in the FIFA Connect database. The initiative will also support the inclusion of girls and pupils from marginalized communities, ensuring football remains a platform for inclusion and also empowerment. Now, Highlanders have turned attention to the Chibuku Super Cup semi-final clash against Dynamos this weekend, knowing that success in the competition can save their poor season. Champions under Peter de Jong in 2019, the club will be hoping the Dutchman can once more lead them to glory. More in the following report.
Highlanders are enduring a tough season in the league, where they find themselves fighting to avoid relegation. It has been a sharp fall for the iconic club, which is just months away from celebrating 100 years of existence. Only 7 wins from 31 matches have left them 2 points above the drop zone with just 3 games to go. Despite their struggles in the league, both have shown character in the Chibuku Super Cup and are now in the semi-finals. This is a cup they last won in 2019 and their last major piece of silverware under the same man who's back in charge. Peter de Jong, who cemented his name in Bosso history with that triumph, and history now beckons for him to repeat the trick and restore glory to Highlanders. But first, they must overcome their old rivals, Dynamos, at Rufaro Stadium on Sunday. The two sides shared the spoils in the league last week, but the stakes are higher in the knockout competition, where there has to be a winner.
Look now to the semi-final, away game, cup game. That means there is always coming a winner. Of you win, of you lost in the 90 minutes, is it een draw, then is the coming shootout. Dus cup football meaning, there's always a winner and there's a team that lost.
Clashes between Dynamos and Highlanders are always electric, and recent meetings have delivered quality football from both sides. Beyond the technical side, De Jong is also mindful of the weather conditions and the state of the pitch ahead of the match.
A lot of raining, cold weather, rain season is starting. I hope that the pitch in Harare no problems have because of the rain. There's a lot of raining in Zimbabwe this moment. A big game against in 1 week time.
Dynamos will be missing their maverick midfielder Demva Mukamba and striker Jairus Kasondo, who scored in the draw against Boss over the weekend through suspension. De Jong, however, has a full squad at his disposal and believes that his side still has everything to fight for.
Everyone is available. We have no players are suspended. Saturday we travel to Harare. And, let's enjoy the game and let's go for a good result. That is, we do everything what there is possibility in our hands to go to the final.
It has been a long wait for silverware for Highlanders, and facing Dynamos, who are the current cup holders and their biggest rivals, should be extra motivation for a club guided by the man who calls himself the champ.
Highlanders are away to Dynamos at Rufaro on Sunday, but before that, Moors host Triangle at Ngoni on Saturday in the first Chibuku Super Cup semi-final. That match will be live right here on ZTN Prime. Now that concludes our bulletin this evening. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Wadzanai Sansole. Have a good night.